welcome back to another reaction video. This one is a very long one, and so it will be probably a three-parter, because there's four parts. We'll cover these, get to this, and then this will be its own episode, and then we'll finish off with this episode, with this one. I did try doing the finisher video request, but YouTube turned off its visibility since people of other countries don't watch my content. So let's just hop right into this and see the history of Kamen Riders.
Why is Kamen Rider so legendary? From 1971's original Kamen Rider series to 2024's Kamen Rider Gav, the Kamen Rider franchise has built an incredible
The suits are
legacy
definitely
and a
cooler
rich
than
history within Japan and throughout the entire world.
Yeah, the
This video
suits
will cover
definitely get
every single
better.
Kamen Rider series throughout history, as well as other major milestones in the franchise like movies, games, and even American adaptations.
There's
So if you want a
games?
video that you can show to people who don't know what Kamen Rider is, or if you just want to take an entertaining walk with me through the complete history of this legendary franchise, this is the video for you. To tell the story of the
let's
Kamen
get
Rider
rid of this real
franchise,
quick.
we first have to go all the way back to 1938, where a young child named Shotaro Onodera was born in the town of Tome in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. Shotaro would take on the name Ishinomori, and he showed a lot of creativity and a talent for creating characters from a young age. He showcased his abilities in various manga competitions throughout his childhood before he would eventually create a character named
That's
Skullman
cool.
that would of course go on
Yeah.
to become Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider is perhaps best known for featuring young adult men that become cyborgs and transform into armored superheroes with a theme of grasshoppers and other insects, although this has loosened up a lot over
Very,
time.
yeah.
In the modern age, not all series feature this bug theme. In fact, most don't. There are three eras of Kamen Rider, and these coincide with the eras of Japan's history. These eras are known as the Showa era, spanning from 1926 to 1989, the Heisei era, spanning from 1989 to 2019, and the Reiwa era, which spans from 2019 through the present day.
That's a cool concept. That really is.
In 1971, Kamen Rider was born with the iconic original series, starring two main protagonists in Takeshi and Hayato, as they would take on Shocker and later Gale Shocker. Unlike modern-day seasons of Kamen Rider, this series ran for a whopping 98 episodes. And we would start with the story of Takeshi Hongo, a college student who was turned into a cyborg by Shocker, but they were unable to fully convert his mind, and he would rebel and battle against them.
That's actually cool. So it's like a college rebellion.
While filming a motorcycle stunt, Takeshi Hongo's actor Hiroshi Fujioka was injured and had to be replaced. They would replace him by Hayato Ichimonji, played by Takeshi
Yeah, I
Sasaki,
can imagine
and
that
eventually they would join
happening
forces
very
together,
commonly.
becoming the iconic Double Riders. This series set iconic tropes such as Kamen Rider being a cyborg fighting an evil organization, and of course his preferred method of transportation, his rider machine cycle. To say that this series was iconic and legendary would be a huge understatement. In
Yeah, it's a
1973, Toei would
cool.
follow up the
It really
success of Kamen
is.
Rider
It's
with
very
Kamen Rider
interesting.
V3, a direct sequel featuring returning characters from Kamen Rider. In this series, Shiro Kazami wants to be a cyborg in order to avenge his family that he saw being killed by Destron. He becomes mortally wounded while risking his life to protect the Double Riders. So in return, they turn him into Kamen Rider V3.
That's interesting.
This series features
So they
Joji
recruit
Yuki,
a
also known
third
as Rider
one.
Man, played by Takahisa Yamaguchi, who has one of the most unique rider suit designs in the franchise, being that his mouth is exposed through his helmet. Our protagonist Shiro is played by
That's
Hiroshi
interesting,
Miyauchi,
because
who
that
also played
mean
Owl Ranger in
wouldn't
Go
that mean
Ranger,
that
Big Mom in Joka, and Chief Counselor Naoyuki Miura in O
he
Ranger,
doesn't
plus
have
multiple
like a
seasons
stunt
of the Metal
devil?
Hero franchise.
He just
This
does
guy
it
is a
his
token
own way.
legend.
罪もない人々を何人殺せば気が済むのだ
As far as V3 suit design, it was a natural evolution from the looks of the Double Riders, featuring more red and a slightly more detailed design.
I don't know what it's supposed to be based off of, though.
1974 was the year of Kamen Rider X, where our main protagonist Keisuke and his father were betrayed by Keisuke's fiancée in order to assist God, the government of darkness, leading Keisuke and his father to become mortally wounded. Keisuke's father, who was a robotics expert, turned Keisuke into a Kaizorg, also known as X Rider or Kamen Rider X, in order to save his life.
仮面ライダー X にセットアップするのだ
That's interesting.
In this series, Keisuke starts as an easygoing character, with the optimism of somebody that's about to get married. But all that is ripped away from him, and he turns into a machine of pure precision and focus.
I can imagine. That's
His helmet
enough
is meant to
trauma
look
to
like a
do it.
skull, and his helmet definitely has a look that calls back to the Skullman manga created by Shotaro Ishinomori. Due to competition from anime on TV at the time, the show had lower ratings than the studio had hoped, and it only lasted 35 episodes. Also in 1974, we had Kamen Rider Amazon. This is the shortest Kamen Rider series ever, and one of the most violent. This show follows Daisuke, who was lost in the Amazon as a child. He was raised by wild animals before eventually being adopted by an Incan tribe. Nearly his entire
What?
village
There
would be
is so
killed by
many
gold
things wrong
ghosts,
with
but
this.
not before an elder in the tribe performs a ritual to give him the power to become Kamen Rider Amazon. This was an incredibly iconic and unique new look for Kamen Rider, with a helmet design and a suit design that had never been seen before. This was the first rider to not use a belt to henshin, and the first Kamen Rider series since the original to not have any previous riders returning. This is also the
I
very
can
last
imagine, it's
main
the
Kamen Rider
shortest series.
that did not have a Sentai season air alongside it.
仮面ライダーストロンガー
1975 saw the release of Kamen Rider Stronger, which was originally planned to be the final Kamen Rider series. This show follows Shigeru Joe, whose best friend and mentor Goro is killed by Black Satan. Because of this, Shigeru lets himself get turned into a cyborg or Kamen Rider Stronger. He meets Yuriko, also known as Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, or Denpa Ningen Tekud, who is also a cyborg created by Black Satan, and together they would battle Black Satan and later the Delzer Army.
レディに向かって貴様はないでしょ
Oh, the first
Electronic Wave
female
Humanoid
Kamen
Tackle
Rider.
isn't technically a Kamen Rider, but she definitely has the look
Ow.
of one, especially the ones from the early Showa era, and she is bug-themed, with Tackle's motif being a ladybug, and she was even created by Black Satan in the same way as Stronger.
私は電波人間だ
I was like,
the
oh
actress
wow,
Kyoko Okada,
they
who played
changed, and then they were like, oh, she's not a real
passed away at the
Kamen
age of
Rider.
27 due to an asthma attack. Shigeru was played by Shigeru Araki, who also passed away in 2012 of pneumonia.
仮面ライダーストロンガ
Wait, hold
Was
up.
played by Shigeru Araki, who also passed away due to
ー私は電波人間
I just gotta rewind that part.
Unfortunately, the actress Kyoko Okada, who played Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, passed away at the age of 27 due to an asthma attack.
What?
Shigeru was played by Shigeru Araki, who also passed away in 2012 of pneumonia.
仮面ライダーストロンガ
What?
This was meant to be called Kamen Rider Spark, but that was trademarked in Japan. However, this would have been a really fitting name due to the show's focus on electricity.
How can you get
and this was the very
trademark
first Kamen Rider
if
series
you're
to
the
have a temporary
vendor?
power-up for the main rider. That being
I think
Strong
I'm
was charged up
lost.
for.
仮面ライダー
4 whole years later, the Kamen Rider fandom would be introduced to Sky Rider. This was meant to be a reboot of the original Kamen Rider
Sky
series
Rider.
after the franchise had been off of TV for 4 whole years, hence the name and similar suit design to Kamen Rider Ichigo. This show would revisit classic themes and tropes from the first two Kamen Rider series.
He flies like a
In Sky Rider,
bird.
we follow Hiroshi Tsukuba as he battles Neo Shocker. Eventually, the idea of this being a reboot was phased out over time, and classic Kamen Riders would appear, tying this into the continuity of the rest of the era. With a name like Sky Rider, this series was very focused on flight. However, this was also phased out over time, and as far as I can tell, this was because Shotaro Ishinomori was unhappy with the flight special effects.
I can
He didn't
imagine.
like how it looked when Sky Rider was flying around. In 1980, we were introduced to Kamen Rider Super 1. Our protagonist, Kazuya, volunteers for cybernetic surgery in the International Space Development Program in the United States, so he can be an astronaut who doesn't need a spacesuit to survive in space. Unfortunately, before he can make it to space, the base where his operation is being performed is attacked by the Dogma Kingdom, with everyone else being killed.
I didn't even
He
touch
goes
the
to
mouse
Japan
that time.
and is trained by a martial arts expert named Master Ginkai, who teaches him how to henshin into Super 1. This show featured multiple types of interchangeable hands with different strengths and elements, and this functioned as a prototype version of the form switching that we see today.
I can imagine. You pretty much gotta keep up. I still think Super
1984,
Sentai
Toei
is
released
cooler
a
than
one-off special
Kamen
titled
Riders,
Birth
but
of
that's
the
just
10th
my
Kamen
opinion.
Riders altogether, and this was the introduction of Ryo Murasame, also known as Kamen Rider Z-Cross. Ryo was a pilot who was attacked by a UFO while with his sister before being kidnapped by the Badan Empire, who turned him into Z-Cross. With his memory erased, he does their bidding before quickly regaining his memory and escaping. He learns of the other riders that came before him, and they would team up together. Although this is only a special, Z-Cross is considered the 10th rider and often represented as a season retroactively. This special marks the final unhinged appearance of Shiro Kazumi, also known as Kamen Rider V3, Joji Yuki, also known as Riderman, and Kazuya Oki, also known as Kamen Rider Super 1.
All I got to say, that suit looks cool.
1987 saw the release of one of the most popular and loved series in the history of the Kamen Rider franchise in Kamen Rider Black. This is a legendary entry marked by a dark tone, a
Rider
gritty look,
Black.
and a very emotional story. This show is a drama in the fullest sense. Black introduces us to Kotaro Minami, who is portrayed masterfully by Tetsuo Kurata, and he delivers a heavy and impactful performance where you're gonna feel the agony that he feels during his fight against Shadow Moon and the Gorgon.
どうしたブラックさん生き返って強くなったのはその程度か
It was around this time that the look of Kamen Riders in general started to change a little bit. The helmets became a little less bulky, and the armor started looking a little more like armor instead of cloth. The aesthetics here and the tone would remain
Yeah, this
influential in
looks
future
a lot
iterations of
better
Kamen
than
Rider
what it
for
used
years
to.
come. In 1988, after the success of Kamen Rider Black, the executives at Toei agreed to go ahead with a sequel entitled Kamen Rider Black RX. In this series, Minami Kotaro returns, and he refuses an offer to join the Crisis Empire. Because of this, he's thrown into the sun, where he would become Kamen Rider Black RX.
Oh, you didn't join us, now you're thrown to the sun.
This show is notable for featuring Rideron, which was a red car instead of Kamen Rider's signature motorcycle. And this was also the first show to introduce form switching into the franchise officially.
I like the... I prefer the car over the bike.
1992 was an absolutely packed year for the Kamen Rider franchise, featuring Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, a film celebrating the 20th anniversary of the franchise. Because this was 20 years later, this
20th
film was meant to
anniversary.
attract fans of the original series that had now grown into adults, and that's why the film was a lot darker and more violent. Our protagonist here is Shin Kazamatsuri, who is fused with grasshopper DNA against his will, leading him to fight against the Institute of Super Science, or ISS. Shotaro Ishinomori originally planned for him to be called Kamen Rider Gaia, with a more traditional look, but later on they changed this to Kamen Rider Shin and gave him a suit that was more biological and insect-like. Ishinomori himself even appears in this movie as a spy.
It definitely is darker, 100%.
Also in 1993, we had the release of Kamen Rider on the Super Famicom. This was a game based on the original Kamen Rider series, released 20 years after the show that it's based on. It was a beat-em-up style game, allowing 2 players to play as Kamen Rider Ichigo and Nigo respectively. This game made it possible for a new generation to experience the universe of the original Kamen Rider series, and you can even play it with a friend.
That's cool.
Rounding out a huge 1993 was Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider, a TV special featuring mini clips and interviews with the people involved from both shows, where we have Kamen Rider growing into a giant to fight alongside Ultraman.
Ultraman. I don't think I know who Ultraman is.
This was a small project, but fans in 1993 welcomed it, and it kept the spirits of these legendary Toku characters alive and well.
Kamen Rider J!
Finger guns.
1994 was the year of Kamen Rider J, the first rider to be able to grow into a giant. Koji Segawa is a photographer who is killed while attempting to protect his little sister named Kana. He's thrown over a cliff and Kana is captured. The Earth spirits resurrect Koji, and he becomes Kamen Rider J, who is assisted by Barry. J is played by Yuta Mochizuki.
These get worse and worse the further I go. This is like a rabbit hole.
(1995) would live in infamy with Saban's Masked Rider, one of the largest blemishes on the resume of Kamen Rider.
I have traveled a vast distance from the planet Edenoi.
Huh?
Resume of Kamen Rider.
I have traveled a
He
vast
speaks
distance
English.
from the planet Edenoi.
Oh, that's great.
After the success of Power Rangers during the 90s, Saban and Toei decided to team up in order to bring Kamen Rider to the English-speaking world. This resulted in what is widely considered to be one of the worst adaptations of all time. This show is about an alien named Dax from planet Edenoi who travels to Earth alongside his companion Furbus, who looks like a giant Furby, and he meets a family who are pretty much devoid of personality and acting skills.
Ecto phase activate.
They tried to shove Kamen Rider and a family sitcom together, and it just doesn't work. An
That's
unfortunate
yeah,
blemish
that's
to
fair.
the legacy of Kamen Rider in the West.
What? He just starts breakdancing.
1998 saw the release of a Kamen Rider game on a brand new cutting-edge system, the PlayStation, allowing fans to
PlayStation
experience the
1,
original Kamen Rider
interesting.
series all over again. This was a fighting game featuring characters and locations that fans of the original series would be really excited to see. The gameplay was nothing revolutionary here, but this was definitely a noteworthy release in the history of Kamen Rider. 1998 was also a year that would go down as a sad one for Kamen Rider fans, as we lost Shotaro Ishinomori due to heart failure on January 28,
What?
1998. It was unclear what would
Kamen Rider has a lot of
franchise with the
history.
loss of its creator and visionary. In 2000, Kamen Rider would return inside of the Heisei era with a new hero, a new legend, in Kamen Rider Kuga. This was the first series in 11 years.
Okay, we're gonna end this episode here. This is a rabbit hole. Oh, wow. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Like and subscribe for another part. I wouldn't mind another part at all. This is actually extremely interesting. We're almost to 20 subscribers. So, and want to try and reach that by the end of the year. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.